Before the gods of thunder cracked the sky, before the sun was crowned in fire and worshipped from mountaintops, there were gods who moved in silence beneath the waves. In the world of African spirituality, the oldest forces are not always the ones who roar. They are the ones who whisper in dreams, pull at tides, and watch from below the surface. Water, in African cosmology, is never just water. It is portal, mirror, and memory. It is the place where ancestors wait, where spirits reveal themselves, and where power flows without shape yet touches everything. To enter the water is not only to bathe the body, it is to wash the soul, to step between worlds, to meet the unseen. Across the African continent, countless cultures have revered the divine through rivers, lakes, seas, and rain. The ocean is not feared, nor is it worshipped blindly. It is engaged with reverence, awe, and ritual. In many traditions, the sea is alive, not with metaphor, but with presence. The deities that rule these waters, Olokun of the Yoruba, Mami Wata of the coastal west and central regions, Nommo of the Dogon, are not minor spirits. They are ancient, complex beings whose influence ripples through myth, psychology, and community. They govern not just waves, but dreams. Not just tides, but transformation. They are gods of wealth and madness, of healing and temptation, of prophecy and rebirth. These deities defy easy classification. They blur boundaries between male and female, God and spirit, danger and salvation. They are as beautiful as they are terrifying, as generous as they are demanding. They arrive in trance, they whisper through water, they speak a language that predates logic and yet holds the code of the soul. In the stories that surround them, we do not find simple answers. We find riddles, echoes, and initiations. They do not offer clarity, they offer depth. In this journey, we will dive beneath the surface to explore the forgotten sea gods of Africa. We will meet Olokun, master of the ocean floor and keeper of the subconscious, Mami Wata, seductive spirit of healing and chaos, and Nommo, the amphibious twin who fell from the stars to speak truth into water. These are not just gods of the sea, they are reflections of ourselves, fluid, powerful, and unfathomably deep. Olokun, whose name translates to owner of the ocean, is one of the most enigmatic and powerful deities in the Yoruba spiritual cosmos. Dwelling in the deepest parts of the ocean, Olokun is not a god of gentle waves or calm shores. Olokun is the god of depth, pressure, and the mystery that lies where light cannot reach. In Yoruba tradition, Olokun is the Orisha of the abyss, the primordial waters that existed before the world took form. These are the waters that cradle secrets too ancient for memory, the spirits too wild for land, and the wealth too vast for the surface to contain. Olokun's domain is both source and sanctuary, feared, worshipped, and rarely fully understood. What makes Olokun even more profound is the deity's ambiguous gender. Depending on the region and lineage, Olokun may be male, female, or beyond both. This fluid identity mirrors the ocean itself, at times nurturing, at other times destructive, still one moment and violent the next. In some Yoruba traditions, especially in coastal regions like Lagos and Badagry, Olokun is seen as a male deity of depth and power, ruling the bottomless sea. In other contexts, especially among Edo-speaking peoples and in parts of the Yoruba diaspora, Olokun is revered as a powerful female goddess of wealth and fertility. This duality reflects a deeper spiritual truth. Olokun is not limited by human categories. Like the ocean, Olokun contains multitudes. As the bringer of wealth, Olokun is associated with untold riches, cowries, coral, pearls, and all the treasures that lie beneath the sea. Olokun's blessings can manifest as material abundance, royal authority, or even spiritual gifts like artistic genius and prophetic dreams. But this wealth comes at a price. Olokun is also the keeper of madness and psychic power. Those who invoke Olokun without respect may find their minds unraveling like seaweed in a storm. In myth, Olokun is a deity of extremes, able to bless or destroy, to lift a person to heights of prosperity or drag them into emotional depths they cannot escape. This volatile duality is not a flaw. It is the truth of the subconscious, the truth of spirit. Olokun rules where human control ends. Worship of Olokun is intense, layered, and often veiled. Devotees approach with caution, reverence, and secrecy. In traditional Yoruba society, Olokun's priests and priestesses undergo deep initiation, often involving long periods of isolation, ritual cleansing, and dream incubation. Ceremonies are held at night or near sacred bodies of water. Masks and mirrors play a crucial role, symbolizing Olokun's hidden face and the reflective nature of the sea. Olokun does not reveal truth in direct form. Instead, visions come in symbols, in dreams, in waves of emotional intuition. Sacred offerings include white cloth, silver jewelry, and shells. Items that reflect light but conceal depth, just like the deity they honor. Possession ceremonies dedicated to Olokun are some of the most mysterious within the Orisha tradition. When Olokun rides a devotee, the energy in the room shifts, slow, heavy, trance-like. The body moves as if submerged, arms flowing like currents, head bent as though weighted by the deep. Participants often report feeling as if they are not on land at all, but standing at the bottom of an invisible ocean. These moments are not for spectacle. They are sacred enactments of communion with the vast and formless divine. In these trances, Olokun may give oracles, reveal hidden knowledge, or impose silence, teaching through absence and awe. The iconography of Olokun is equally layered. While not always depicted in statues or carvings, Olokun is represented symbolically by mirrors, the eye into the soul, white beads, silver ornaments, and sea imagery. Altars may be decorated with marine items and flowing cloth, arranged to mimic waves and depth. In some traditions, large earthen jars filled with water and sacred items serve as vessels for Olokun's presence. Devotees speak of the ocean not as scenery but as scripture. Each tide a verse, each storm a warning, each calm a benediction. Today, Olokun continues to be venerated not just in Nigeria but throughout the Afro-Atlantic world, especially in Santeria, as part of Yemaya, Candomblé, and Vodun traditions. Yet even as global attention grows, Olokun remains one of the most concealed and powerful Orisha, a reminder that not all divinity seeks the spotlight. Some gods dwell in the unknown because that is where transformation lives. To invoke Olokun is to dive into your own soul's ocean, to risk madness for clarity, silence for truth, and depth for wholeness. Olokun teaches us that the greatest power lies not in control, but in surrender to mystery. In the depths, nothing is what it seems, but everything is what it must become. Mami Wata, whose name means Mother of Waters, is one of the most beguiling and widely recognized spiritual figures in African and Afro-diasporic traditions. Unlike the Orisha Olokun, Mami Wata is often referred to not as a deity, but as a spirit, a powerful force whose origins stretch across cultures, coastlines, and centuries. She is not tied to a single ethnic group or religious system, but flows like water across borders: West Africa, Central Africa, the Caribbean, and the Americas, changing shape while retaining her deep essence. She is the embodiment of water's most paradoxical qualities: beautiful and terrifying, nurturing and dangerous, liberating and enslaving. Mami Wata is not a myth to be dissected. She is a presence to be felt, a current that can pull you under or carry you to shore. Visually, Mami Wata is most commonly portrayed as a mermaid: long flowing hair, radiant beauty, half human and half fish. She may hold a mirror, symbolizing self-reflection and illusion, or a snake, coiled around her arms or body, representing transformation, sexuality, and the bridge between the spiritual and the physical. Her skin is often depicted as unusually pale, sometimes white, sometimes iridescent, reflecting her supernatural status and her associations with foreignness, mystery, and power. This imagery, while now widespread, evolved over time. The mermaid form is believed to have been influenced by early European maritime contact, as tales of sirens and exotic sea maidens fused with indigenous beliefs. Yet despite this external influence, Mami Wata remains fully African. Her essence predates colonization and continues to resist containment. Mami Wata is intimately tied to themes of wealth, healing, seduction, and danger. Those who encounter her, whether in dreams, visions, or through sudden good fortune, may receive lavish blessings: success in business, irresistible charm, sexual magnetism, and access to hidden knowledge. But her gifts are not free. Mami Wata demands loyalty, purity, and often solitude. Her chosen devotees, both male and female, may be marked by an unexplainable allure, a magnetic presence that sets them apart. They may be called to priesthood through illness or near-death experiences, events interpreted not as misfortune, but as initiation. Mami Wata's worship is deeply rooted in the trader cultures of the Atlantic coast. From Senegal to Cameroon, she was revered by fishermen, sailors, and merchants, those whose lives depended on the unpredictable sea. Her blessings were sought for safe passage, abundant trade, and protection from storms, both literal and spiritual. As Africans were displaced through slavery, Mami Wata's presence followed, adapting and transforming within diasporic contexts. In Haitian Vodou, Brazilian Candomblé, and New Orleans Voodoo, echoes of Mami Wata can be found, often fused with Catholic iconography like the Virgin Mary or Saint Philomena. These syncretic expressions preserve her core identity while allowing her to evolve, a testament to her adaptability and universal resonance. Yet it is Mami Wata's dual nature that makes her so powerful and so feared. She is both healer and destroyer. She may bless a devotee with clairvoyance and charisma, only to demand a personal sacrifice that costs them relationships or sanity. She can offer sexual fulfillment and creative inspiration, but also induce obsession, insomnia, and emotional chaos. Those who betray her or fail to honor her demands may suffer spiritually, emotionally, or even physically. In some tales, she appears in dreams to offer riches, but the recipient must renounce all previous commitments, including romantic partners, as a sign of loyalty. Refusal can result in madness or a string of misfortunes. This is not vengeance, it is divine reciprocity. With Mami Wata, everything is exchange. Possession by Mami Wata is a vivid ritual act, marked by rhythmic drumming, trance dancing, and spontaneous behavior. When she enters the body of a devotee, their movements become serpentine, eyes fluttering closed or wide in ecstasy. They may speak in unknown tongues or whisper secrets no one else could know. These moments are not considered performance, but real communion. Proof that the spirit of Mami Wata moves not just through water, but through flesh and fire. Shrines dedicated to her are often adorned with mirrors, perfumes, fine cloth, and images of opulence. She is drawn to beauty, luxury, and cleanliness, symbols of the world she governs beneath the surface. Even today, Mami Wata continues to appear in popular culture, art, and modern African spirituality. She is a figure of both empowerment and warning, a spiritual force who resists domestication. Feminine yet fierce, she challenges conventional gender roles and offers an archetype of sovereign female power that does not bow to patriarchal norms. She is not the virgin nor the witch, but something older and more elemental, water itself, in all its moods. To honor Mami Wata is to enter into a relationship with mystery. She will not be owned, only respected. She will not always explain, but she will always reveal. And like water, she asks us not to control, but to flow. She teaches that true power lies not in certainty, but in the surrender to something deeper than logic and more ancient than words. In the spiritual traditions of the Dogon people of Mali, the cosmos begins not with light, but with sound, vibration, and the sacred order that comes from water. From the depths of the unseen and the silence before time, Amma, the supreme creator, birthed the first beings to inhabit the universe, the Nommo. They were not gods in the traditional sense, but divine spirits of immense power and meaning. The Nommo were created from the cosmic womb and sent down from Sirius, a star so bright and distant it pulses like a memory across galaxies. The Dogon say that the Nommo came not just to shape the world, but to speak it into order, to bring rhythm to chaos, and to embed law into the fabric of existence. The Nommo are amphibious, living in water yet able to dwell briefly on land. Their androgynous form defies easy categorization. They are both male and female, both singular and multiple, both ancestors and divine messengers. In their being, opposites meet and reconcile, air and sea, silence and sound, stillness and movement. They are not worshipped in the way other African deities are, but rather revered as a divine function of the cosmos itself, like gravity, like breath, like time. Wherever water flows, the Nommo are believed to be present. Wherever truth is spoken with clarity, their presence is near. They are guardians of speech, fertility, and sacred knowledge. The Dogon believe that the Nommo brought language to the world, and not just words, but the power of naming, the vibration that defines identity. In their stories, to speak the truth is not merely an act of communication, it is a form of creation. Each syllable uttered with intent sends ripples through the spiritual world. Each name carries power. The Nommo gave humans the ability to shape reality with sound. They gave the world order, not as rigid control, but as the balanced harmony of all elements in motion. The mythology tells of a time when one of the Nommo defied Amma's law, breaking the sacred code and disturbing the cosmic equilibrium. This act of disobedience resulted in fragmentation. The Nommo were dismembered, their bodies scattered across the cosmos. But this was not the end. From their dismemberment came renewal. Through ritual sacrifice, they were restored. Their return was not a simple resurrection, but a cosmic regeneration, a re-anchoring of balance through sacrifice and divine will. In this myth, death is not an ending, but a return to truth. Dismemberment is not destruction, but a symbolic dispersal of divine energy throughout the world. The Dogon see this cycle of dismemberment and reassembly as the pattern of all life. Every seed that falls, every being that dies, every truth that is forgotten and remembered again, follows the path of the Nommo. The universe, in their view, is a spiral, not a line. We do not move forward so much as return, again and again, to deeper versions of ourselves. The Nommo show that wisdom does not come only through preservation, but through surrender, breakdown, and renewal. Even their descent from Sirius is woven into this cosmic rhythm. The Dogon have long held knowledge of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye, but described with accuracy generations before Western science confirmed its existence. They say the Nommo came from Sirius B, carrying the vibrations of that distant sun like divine code. This star, dense and unseen, mirrors the Nommo's essence, hidden yet foundational, quiet yet immeasurably powerful. It pulses beneath perception, like memory beneath water, like truth beneath illusion. The Dogon honor the Nommo through rituals of water, silence, and sacred geometry. Their ceremonies are filled with masks, dances, and rhythms that do not just entertain, but transmit cosmic order through form and motion. Every movement is calculated, every pattern a mirror of the universe's divine blueprint. The Nommo are not just remembered, they are re-expressed, re-invoked, brought back through art, drumbeat, and sacred breath. In the presence of the Nommo, the boundaries dissolve. Human becomes divine, male meets female. Time folds, water speaks. They remind us that creation is not a single act, but an ongoing dance between fragmentation and union. They teach that our voice is a current, that our body is a vessel, and that in every silence waits the return of a forgotten word. To hear the Nommo is not just to understand the universe, but to align with its deepest truth, that nothing is ever truly lost, only scattered, waiting to be remembered. They are the twin mirrors of origin and return, of law and love, floating beneath the surface of the cosmos, reflecting who we were before we were born, and who we might become if we listen. Water has always represented more than the physical. It is the language of the unconscious, the element of mystery, dreams, and the submerged parts of the self. In African spiritual traditions, water gods and goddesses embody these qualities not just as divine beings, but as archetypal forces. They are not simply characters in myth, they are reflections of inner processes, gateways to transformation, and symbols of our deepest truths. When we look at Olokun's silent depth, Mami Wata's seductive presence, or Nommo's rhythmic return, we are not just studying mythology, we are seeing blueprints of the psyche. Each sea deity is a living mirror, reflecting the unseen forces within us. In this way, the African water gods align profoundly with Jungian archetypes, those universal symbols embedded in the collective unconscious. Olokun, for instance, mirrors the archetype of the shadow self, the part of us that is vast, powerful, hidden, and often feared. Mami Wata resonates with the anima, the feminine soul within all beings, both enchanting and terrifying, creative and destructive. Nommo, with their amphibious duality and sacred voice, reflects the wise guide, the one who brings balance through speech and reintegration. These deities embody the very movements of psychological growth, descent, confrontation, renewal. Water deities across African cosmologies symbolize the necessity of change. They rule not by stability, but by flow. The journey to self-understanding, to healing, or to spiritual awakening often begins with immersion into the unknown, a crisis, a dream, a transformation. That descent into water, both literal and metaphorical, is where the gods of the sea await. They do not offer easy answers. They demand surrender, courage, and emotional honesty. But for those who listen, they offer inner power. Not the loud kind that conquers, but the quiet kind that endures, transforms, and liberates. In myth and ritual, these archetypes are not just studied, they are embodied. Through drumming, trance, and prayer, the individual steps into the current of the divine, enacting their own story of rebirth. Water gods teach that the soul is not linear but tidal, not fixed but fluid. They remind us that within each of us lies a hidden ocean, and in its depths, the gods still speak. In a world reckoning with its disconnection from nature, its fragmented identities, and its spiritual amnesia, the ancient sea gods of Africa are rising once again, not as dusty relics, but as living forces with renewed relevance. Across the globe, especially within the African diaspora, there is a revival of indigenous spirituality, a deep yearning to reconnect with roots that were once severed by colonialism, slavery, and forced religious conversion. In this resurgence, Olokun, Mami Wata, Nommo, and other water spirits are not being rediscovered. They are being remembered. For many, invoking these deities is not only a spiritual act, but a reclamation of history, identity, and ancestral pride. Water itself has become a symbol of this return, not just for ritual baths or offerings, but as a medium of ecological and spiritual healing. Communities worldwide are beginning to understand what traditional African societies have known for generations: that water is sacred, that rivers must be respected, oceans protected, and that our survival is intimately tied to the health of these living bodies. Honoring water spirits becomes a form of activism, a way to restore balance in an age of environmental collapse. The same rivers that cradle shrines also carry toxins and plastics. The rituals that once invoked rain now speak to drought. The gods of the water, long seen as otherworldly, are now prophetic voices echoing warnings we can no longer ignore. Beyond ecology and culture, these forgotten myths offer profound tools for psychological restoration. The stories of Olukun's depth, Mami Wata's duality, and Nommo's regeneration carry the medicine of metaphor. In a time where anxiety, depression, and alienation flood modern consciousness, these deities remind us of the power in descent, the healing in surrender, and the wisdom of cycles. They allow us to see our inner struggles as sacred initiations rather than disorders. They offer language for emotions modern society cannot hold. They reconnect us to a worldview where the soul is part of the world, not apart from it. To honor these gods is not to return to the past, it is to bring the past forward, to allow ancient wisdom to shape a new world. The sea gods matter not because they are old, but because they are true. True to spirit, true to nature, and true to the depth still hidden in all of us. These gods were never gone. They did not vanish when empires rose or fall when foreign names replaced theirs in temples. They simply went where all true things go when forgotten, beneath the surface, into the depths of memory, soul, and sea. Olokun waited in silence, Mami Wata danced in dreams, Nommo hummed in the pulse of the stars. They remained in the songs of rivers, the rhythm of waves, the shimmer of scales and spirit. And now, as the world begins to remember, their voices rise again, not with thunder, but with tide. These sea gods are not just myths. They are maps, showing us how to feel, how to transform, how to return to wholeness. So may your waters be deep, your path clear, and your soul as fluid as the rivers that remember your name. May the spirits of the sea guide your healing, protect your journey, and teach you the language of silence and flow. If this story stirred the waters in you, do not let them settle. Like, comment, and subscribe, not just to this channel, but to the current of memory. Share this tide, spread it like salt across lost coasts. Let the sacred return, one story at a time.